All right, welcome back to Onebar and Lupagus show. I'm Onebar with Lupagus. It's that time of the week, SKOL'ing with the enemy. We're bringing on Ruben from 713 Houston Sports, also part of the AFC roundtable. Those guys are killing it over there, so check that out. Ruben, welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you so much, man. I'm excited to be here. Hey, 2-0 teams, man. I bet we both feel fantastic right now on a Friday.
Feeling great.
Thursday, my fault. Oh my God.
Who knows what day it is?
We're
2-0. It doesn't matter.
Man, dude, this is the season I've been waiting for all my life. So it feels like just Monday through Friday just goes real quick, and it's Sunday all over.
Well, you got a hell of a channel over there. Links will be down in the description. You are at like 12,500, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, man. Been doing this for about 4 years, so grinding.
All right, give Ruben a sub for sure. But Ruben, he's either gonna give us some hope or just dash our dreams as far as going 3-0. Let's get into this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it. Let's start with a former Minnesota Viking. There's a lot of them on the Texans and a lot of former Texans on the Vikings. But let's start with Stefan Diggs, the man who caught the Minneapolis Miracle a couple years ago. How has he been? Has he been behaving? Mm-hmm. Have you seen any cryptic tweets yet on Twitter from him?
So far, the only negative thing he said about Houston is the traffic, which makes sense because we just cannot fix our roads. But right now, this is, I've heard a lot of people say this is the honeymoon phase. I'll be a fool to not know, what happened in Minnesota, what happened in Buffalo. But ever since Stefan Diggs has been a Houston Texan, it has been looking good at training camp. He was working out with guys after practice, before practice. You see that he has a captain patch on his jersey. He said that meant a lot to him. So far, it's worked out with Stefan Diggs. Haven't seen nothing cryptic, man. Hopefully we don't see it.
Enjoy it. He's a hell of a player. We miss him. Miss him, but yeah, he can add a little drama. Speaking of missing somebody, Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter had himself a game last week, but how are you enjoying one of our favorite Vikings of all time?
When I first saw him, I realized God did not make man equal. I mean, he just looks like a mutant, and 1.5 sacks against Chicago. Didn't have a sack in week 1 against Indy, but him and Will Anderson Jr. created so much pressure that it allowed our defensive tackles to kind of flourish off that. But he was absolutely on fire on Sunday night. He made the right tackle absolutely silly. Gives him a little shake there, makes him do the splits and just sacks Caleb Williams. He would have had another sack if Caleb Williams wasn't so slippery. But, this is a guy who you gave, $48 million guaranteed to. He's coming home. He's been a leader on the defensive line, just fantastic. And I think it's only going to get better, man. He's going to be a monster. People forget he had 16.5 sacks last year.
Yeah, he is so good. His muscles have muscles. It's insane.
He's scary.
He is scary. And you guys got Danielle Hunter, and we signed Jonathan Grenard and Blake Cashman from you guys. Were you sad to see them go in free agency?
I was sad because with Grenard, if you remember him from Florida, he led the SEC in sacks. He led the SEC in tackles for loss. And, was kind of, we know what he can be, but he just got injured. He showed that he can get to the quarterback. He could put up double-digit sacks. And, I was one who said, you have to keep Jonathan Grenard. You have to keep Jonathan Grenard. I wasn't even thinking about getting Danielle Hunter because I wanted Grenard back. He gets the bag. He's fantastic when he's healthy. Blake Cashman, same thing. I told you guys, pre-show, his only thing in Houston was he just cannot stay on the field. When healthy, we know he is just fantastic in coverage, and he's a pretty good blitz and linebacker. I think he had 2 sacks for you guys last week. If healthy, both Grenard and Cashman are going to make plays for the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, we're going to be talking Texans Vikings in a minute, but I gotta ask you about your coach. We each have some very young and up and coming head coaches. Ryans, how's Houston feeling about him? Are you guys like, this is our coach for the next 15 years? I mean,
yeah, that's exactly it. We call him the savior, right? Our owner, Hannah McNair, said this is the DeMeco Ryans effect. As soon as he stepped into the organization, we took a huge change. And with all the success that we had over the past year and a half, I think people forget that we only won 7 games in 3 years. We had 2 one-and-done coaches, no money, no first-round picks. We were about to be the Cleveland Browns, if I'm being completely honest with you, going on the slippery slope of just mediocrity. DeMeco Ryans steps in. He brings back, the culture. He brings back Andre Johnson. He's back walking into the buildings, and it changed. And I knew he was going to be different. Our first training camp practice with him last year, it was a surprise, but everyone's saying him happy birthday. And, to see him stop and, be in shock and, you see his white teeth and you're like, man, this meant a lot to him. And you could tell that he loves this city. He loves this team. And just to see what they did last year, I remember everyone saying that CJ Stroud was going in a worse situation than Bryce Young. How quick have those narratives changed? But to win 10 games, a first, playoff game, a division title, this is the DeMeco Ryans effect. Like you said, I hope he's our coach for the next 10 to 15 years.
And are you just thanking God every day that the Panthers took Bryce Young?
Dude, let me tell you, dude, I am. And I'm also going to tell you, I was a Bryce Young guy, right? Throughout the whole season, it was tank for Bryce. And once we lost that number 1 overall pick, I kind of settled myself into CJ Stroud. And, thank God we have him, man. This is God's quarterback, dude. It's like, every time he makes a mistake, he gets bailed out in a crazy way, right? Throws his first interception against the Saints. And what happens to the guy who picks it up? He fumbles it, goes back to the Houston Texans offense. I'm so happy that the Carolina Panthers passed on CJ Stroud. Someone definitely should get fired for that. And it's just going to make him look silly every single week that you see CJ Stroud ball out. And, with Bryce Young, a lot of people were saying, give him an offensive line. If you look at that game, he had plenty of moments where he had time in the pocket, just couldn't make it. Shout out to Bryce Young. I hope he figures it out. But CJ Stroud, man, this is the franchise.
Let's stay on offense for a minute here. You got some stars that aren't quite healthy. Can you give us updates on Joe Mixon and Nico Collins' status?
Yeah, so this is just an update right now. Those two have just returned to practice. Now, I think Joe Mixon will kind of be more on a limited basis. We'll kind of split reps with Cam Akers, who played with you guys last year. Nico Collins should be 100% ready to go. Has been the number 1 wide receiver for the Houston Texans so far this year. So those two have returned. Our center, I'm sorry, Joe Mixon has not returned. Our center, Juice Scruggs, has returned. He was not at practice the past couple of days, but he is back there. So it looks like we won't be with Joe Mixon on Sunday and get you guys. It'll be Cam Akers starting, but Nico Collins is back as well as Juice Scruggs.
Cam Akers, another familiar face for Vikings fans. I gotta ask you, and it's not that Texans are going to be one of the best teams in the league this year. So this isn't a slight, but how the hell did you only beat the Bears and the Colts by a total of 8 points?
Yeah, it's, this offense, if I could be honest with you boys, has been disappointing. And, in week 1, what saved you was Joe Mixon, who had 159 yards on the ground. The first time the Houston Texans had that in years. So, of course, you're going to give him the ball 30 times when you're averaging 5.6 yards a carry. Last week, it was Kaimi Fairbairn, your kicker, who won the game for you. 3 50-yard field goals, and won the Houston Texans chain for the player of the week. This passing attack has not lived up to the hype, right? We have not seen Tank Dell ball out. We have not seen Stefan Diggs ball out just yet. We know it's going to come. It's just a matter of when. We're hoping that gets situated this Sunday against Minnesota, but it's been the defense that has really kind of stepped up every single game and has kept you in these. And then you saw on Sunday Night Football, they pressured Caleb Williams 81.8% of all his dropbacks. So they won you that game, and Kaimi Fairbairn did it for you. This passing attack just has not woken up yet.
Is that more on the play calling or Stroud? What's it on?
I would say with Bobby Slowick, he's entering, year 2 as an offensive coordinator. When you see the Houston Texans, and someone brought this up, we are asking this offensive line to block for more than 3 and 4 seconds. We're running these wide receivers on just 15-yard plus routes out there. We want it to be short and simple. Take what the defense gives you. And you have a lot of people right now are questioning Bobby Slowick. With CJ Stroud, I just think he looks fantastic. If you look at what he does on third down, if you look at what he does when he does have a clean pocket, he's surgical. He had a key throw in the week 1 matchup to Nico Collins last week, made amazing plays with Nico. I would have to say it's the OC here. And, you just have a lot of weapons, right? You also have Dalton Schultz. You also have Kate Stover. There is a lot of mouths to feed right now for the Houston Texans, but this is something that we are monitoring, something that we had a conversation yesterday about this passing attack not living up to the hype just yet.
All right.
Nice. So let's just move ahead. Long-term goal for the Texans this year. I mean, if they're anything less than the Super Bowl, is that disappointing? Or are you just hoping to make the next step, go one round further? What's the goal this year for the Texans?
Yeah, for me, it's AFC championship or bust. You have not made an AFC championship. You have not won in the divisional round. When you have an off season where you bring in a Mixon, you bring in a Diggs, you're bringing in Danielle Hunter, you're supposed to go to places where you've never gone before. So there is so much expectations on this Houston Texans team. I said last year it's going to be fun. Enjoy the ride, and you got 10 wins. Now you're expecting to win 10 plus. You're expecting to be one of the final teams come playoff time. I'm thinking AFC championship or bust for this team.
All right. Once again, we got Ruben joining. Links down in the description. Does a fantastic job over there talking Texans. When it comes to this Sunday, two teams 2-0 going against each other. What scares you the most about this juggernaut of a team, this 2-0 Vikings team led by Sam freaking Darnold?
Yeah.
Hey, man, you got arguably a walking Hall of Famer in Justin Jefferson. You know, I've told all my people, well, you know, when it's all said and done, this dude might be the best to ever do it. And the Houston Texans are not going to be able, you know, to just shut down Justin Jefferson. Contain him, maybe, but I could still see him having 80 yards. I could still see him having 100 plus. Just don't let Justin Jefferson be the reason why you lose this game, Houston Texans. And, you know, it's going to be putting pressure on Sam Darnold. He was sacked 3 times last week. I think you guys have a pretty good offensive line. One of the sacks was on him. The other 2 were just, you know, not his fault. I think if you have Danielle Hunter put pressure, you have Will Anderson put pressure on him, as well as your 2 linebackers, Azeez Al-Shaair and Henry To'oTo'o, just making it difficult for him, you will find some success. With Sam Darnold, we know that throughout his career, you know, it hasn't been great. And it looks like right now he is reviving himself with Kevin O'Connell. Kind of reminds me when you guys had Sam Bradford a couple of years ago and he was just lighting it up. It is going to be very difficult, but containing Justin Jefferson, right? Having Sam Darnold kind of beat you with his arm, it's kind of what we're thinking are our keys to the game. And we have Derek Stingley. He went against Justin Jefferson in college. That's going to be an interesting matchup. Cannot wait to see that.
Stingley, a top 5 corner, you think?
Oh, absolutely, man. It's just a matter of can he stay healthy, you know? And he missed significant time in year 1, significant time last year, then had 5 interceptions in 8 games. And if he stays on the field, we're talking about one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. Had an interception last week against DJ Moore. You saw him just absolutely destroy Daniel Jones in the preseason. But Derek Stingley is a top 5 guy, and I am excited for this matchup right here between these 2, you know, young studs.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Lupagus has got one more for you. Let me sneak one quick one in. What player? What starting player on the Texans right now is your worst player? Which player do you just despise the fact that he's even out there?
The player that I despise. Oh man, it's hard because
oh God, you guys sound good.
No. You know, I would say right now, you know, if it's not Juice Scruggs at center, I hate everyone who's there. So if it's Jared Patterson,
there you go.
If it's Kendrick Green, you know, Juice Scruggs is a fantastic dude, but we knew coming in, you know, from Penn State, he had an injury history. He had to learn how to walk again. So him not being out there, you know, last week was huge. And then I'm glad to hear that he's at practice, but on the starting, I have to say anyone who's not Juice Scruggs. I would say Titus Howard, you know, is someone who a lot of Houston Texans fans are kind of iffy on. Our right tackle, who we gave a big 3-year extension to just a couple of years ago. He's had himself a rough couple of past 2 games. So let's just go with Titus Howard. Yeah, let's go with Titus.
Juice Scruggs, he was a second rounder.
He went way earlier
than anybody thought.
Man. We traded up for him out of Penn State. Broke his back, had to learn how to walk again.
Yeah.
You know, in week 1, when you have him against Indy, you rush for 159 yards. And week 2, you know, you could barely get 38, you know, from Joe Mixon and Cam Akers. You know, it's crazy that a young guy is that, you know, huge to our Houston Texan offense. But, you know, you heard Bobby Slowick say that the center position is one of the most important positions for the offense.
Nice. Well, Ruben, I'm sure you're aware of this, but the Houston Texans have never beat the Minnesota Vikings.
Never.
Do you see that ending on Sunday?
I think so. I think it's going to come down to who has the better quarterback, and that's CJ Stroud, right? I do have this game being close. I have it 27-24. I have it coming down to a Kaimi Fairbairn 50-yard field goal. I think both our offenses are going to win matchups. Both our defenses are going to win matchups. It's just going to come down to who has the better quarterback, and right now I am taking 7 over the other 31 guys in this league.
Wow.
I'll tell you one thing, Ruben. If it comes down to a ridiculously long field goal to win the game, just let me tell you, your guy will make it. The Vikings are notorious for losing to just crazy ass field goals at the end of the game. So feel good if he lines up for that thing.
Yeah, I think he hit 50, 350 yarders this week, 350 yarders last week. You don't want your kicker hitting just nothing but 50 yarders, right? So that's what I'm saying. This passing attack hasn't lived up to it. But I think that does happen on Sunday. I think it's a great game, and it's going to come down to the very end, right? The Houston Texans the past year, and some change haven't really blown someone out, and until the Browns game in the playoffs. But other than that, all these games have come down to the very end.
All right, there you have it, Ruben, the man, the myth, the legend. We appreciate you hopping on. Again, links will be down in the description. Go over there, give them a sub. If the Vikings pull it off on Sunday, hop over there, give them a little smack in the comments. Yeah. Ruben, we appreciate you hopping on, man.
Yeah, thanks, Ruben.
Thank you so much, guys. Have a healthy season.
Yeah, you too.